Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show. This morning we're chatting about an artist development workshop that took place in May called Reverb X. It was the fourth installment of it. And to chat this conversation, let me welcome Melissa Jimenez, who's the General Manager of Music at Global Trinidad and Tobago, and Dana Shayegan, who is the International Music Industry and Marketing Professional and the co-founder of Monk Music. Good morning, lady and gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Good morning. Well, thank you. Good.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, first of all, Melissa, for people who may not understand what happened, can you explain what Global Trinidad and Tobago is?
So Global Trinidad and Tobago is a merger of Creative TT and all subsidiaries under that, so Music TT, Film TT, Fashion TT, Invest TT, and Export TT.
Okay.
So this merger would have happened, well, amalgamation would have happened around August last year. Mm-hmm. So full disclaimer, you're going to see some confusing marketing things going on right now because you have 4 different companies working alongside each other.
And trying to find that balance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So until things are fully settled, you're going to still see Music TT's name, Film TT, Fashion TT, and all the other entities. Yeah.
And tell me about Reverb X. And its initial stage, what was the purpose?
So Reverb Experience, short form Reverb X, was founded in 2021. So this is right after post-pandemic.
Right. I was still pandemic times.
Well, yeah, that is true. So we did the first one fully online. Mm-hmm. Second one was fully online. Third one was in person and online as well. We got, so the intention was a 3-day music conference speaking wholly about music business. So each year had different themes. We had different international players from different spaces attending and, edifying that conversation as well as the networking element. This year in particular, so last year we did not have any because of the whole transition and things happening. And this year, it wasn't the full-fledged 3-day conference that we usually have, but we wanted to make sure and keep that brand alive. Mm-hmm. So we did a 2-day artist development workshop instead, which was spearheaded by Steve Wilson from Jamaica, as well as Dana Shayegan.
Dana, tell me about your first of all, the decision to be a part of Reverb X and the experience.
It was a fantastic experience. I mean, it validated what I already knew, which is that Trinidad and Tobago has a very thriving music business with an incredible amount of really, really talented musicians, artists, and executives in the creative industry here. And it was really, really inspiring to see the turnout. So it was there was 50 spots allocated for creatives. So yeah, artists, producers, and their management team essentially. Right. And there was over 120 applications that Steve Wilson, he's Sean Paul's manager from Jamaica, my longtime friend and colleague, and Michael Montano, the producer.
The producer
from not Michelle Montano. Michelle Montano is my business partner on Monk Music.
No, but Montano is the producer.
One of the top producers at this moment, right? So Coco T, Tack Back, many of Kess's recent hits, Kutane's Jamtown, The Hero's Rhythm,
Michael Teja's stuff as well.
Michael Teja, DNA. So the 3 of us went through these incredible applications. We looked at their Instagram, we looked at their music submissions, we listened rather to their music submissions.
Right.
And we chose the ones that we felt were, I think, most serious about their careers in music. And they attended, right? So it was oversubscribed. And, what I was really actually inspired and impressed by was the level of engagement that they had. Mm-hmm. So everyone there was engaged. Everyone was asking questions. We did breakout groups with an exercise about the planning of a compilation album that we said we'd call the Future Sound of Trinbago.
Okay.
And we kind of did a real practical exercise about how to plan that. Mm-hmm. And I'm an international executive. I've worked in Los Angeles in the music business, and I was based on my experience there, I feel that the industry is developing quite nicely. And
tell me, what drew you to the industry here in Trinidad and Tobago?
Sound of the music and carnival. To be honest, I had never experienced carnival. I had worked in Jamaica for many years. I'm from California, Southern California, and we loved reggae growing up. And eventually my travels and work in music led me here. Mm-hmm. I met Michelle Montano, my business partner on Monk, along with his manager, Che Katari. And I met Kess, and I worked to bring them to the States and to help monetize their works online digitally. And I was just drawn to it. And again, like I said, there's the incredible talent, and in Trinidad, I feel it's at a global scale, and it's ripe for continuing to grow. It's been growing, and it will continue to grow.
So I have no disagreement with you when it comes to the creative ability and the talent that we have here in Trinidad and Tobago. You mentioned though that the industry, as far as you see it, is in a good place. You talk about meeting people like Kes and Marshall, but then you also did this workshop with people who are significantly less resourced, significantly less developed than they are. Tell me, how far is that gap between the people who were in the workshop and those who are considered to be the top of the totem pole?
Right. I think there's a pretty significant gap, but through the work of Global Trinidad and Tobago and our company, Monk Music, and some of the partners that we have, we're building out infrastructure, education, and financing for the creative sector. So the really positive thing is that we're living in an era of total disintermediation. You no longer need a film studio or a big fashion house or a huge major record label to reach your audience. So in essence, an artist or a producer or producer here has the same level of access to fans globally through platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. Yeah, exactly. So that's promising that and one of the things that I like to get across is to try and motivate these the stakeholders in the creative industry that you have the same opportunity, more or less, at least digitally, to reach fans globally, right? So it's just it takes programs like this that are comprehensive, programs about career development, to bridge that gap that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But the positive thing is that Global Trinidad and Tobago and the music arm specifically is working to address that, and hopefully, I'm optimistic that there'll be more of these, and they'll continue. Well,
Melissa, let me jump back across to you and ask about the impact that it's had so far, because you've been doing it, like you mentioned, for 4 years now. Minus last year. So three of them have happened already. What is the impact that you've seen that you can say, all right, we're doing something that's positive for the industry?
So I think in particular with this crop of participants, now, there's always a select few that are going to be there every single year, right? At every single thing we have. So, from them, I've seen that they are, actually beginning to put into practice what they're learning, because prior incarnations of different workshops, doesn't have to be RVRB, you would see that people are just what I call conference bandons. They just come and they attend, and it's like a high, and then they go back doing the same thing. But more and more, I'm seeing a consciousness that they have to start putting things into practice, right? They can't rely on the government to do that for them. We can just give the tools. So I'm really glad to see that. And then also there's the opening of doors, right? So because of the networking element in particular, they're able to have those one-on-one conversations with people like Dana and Steve and our whole contingent, African contingent that we had last year, year before, and so forth. So because of that, their networks have expanded. They're able to have conversations, and a lot of them are also getting more paid opportunities, revenue generating opportunities, and exploring other areas of music that traditionally people have not tapped into as a revenue source.
And I often wonder about that in terms of how we measure success. How do we measure somebody being successful in the music industry? Is it just a matter of popularity? Is it just a matter of number of streams? Is it just how do we measure that achievement to say, all right, this impact has worked, and we can say this is successful?
I would say number of streams and the popularity has about, if I had to estimate, about 20% to do with it. And why I say that is because, one, there are people with the gift of gab, and two, there are people that are just marketing geniuses and know how to make themselves look good on socials. So they have these astronomical numbers, but then it doesn't really translate into anything other than social popularity. Right? For us, when we measure success, it is how much exports, because we're investment export related, right? So it's how much exports is being generated as a result of meeting Dana and Steve.
Do you have a figure for that?
The number of exports?
Yeah.
Well, the program just happened, so no.
No, not for this one, but for the last
But for
two.
the year, I can give you that we're up to, for our pipeline of programs that we've implemented, we're up to this year 5.4 million.
Okay.
In terms of, again, those persons that we're facilitated. This is not a country figure.
It's $5.4 million
Just for this year
come into
alone.
Trinidad and Tobago as a result of music.
No, in terms of export dollars.
And export dollars in total. Guys, unfortunately, we have like 40 seconds before the show is done. But I want to thank you both very much for joining us. I really wanted to ask you that same question, Dana.
Can you support yourself as a music artist? That's to me the hallmark of making it in the music business. Do you need another job? If you don't need another job, then
you're successful.
You're good to go, yeah.
Beautiful. That's a great way to put it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to go out there and make a difference today now, because together we aspire, and if together we perspire, then together we most definitely can achieve. On behalf of Natasha Lake and the entire team here at TDT, let me say thank you to Melissa and Dana for joining us this morning. And do enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you guys tomorrow, God's willing. Take care.